So there's been this apocalyptic war, and the world kind of ended. But some things never change, like this guy, Kairu, who's begging for a special deal at a brothel. This pathetic negotiation is cut short by a few guys from Lord Sparty's gang. With huge guns and samurai swords, they start trashing the place. One of them brings a special girl to their boss, and he's very impressed. But his joy soon turns into shock when she activates a high-tech armored suit. These idiots immediately realize that this is the legendary Iron Girl, a nearly invincible bounty hunter. It takes her only a few minutes to beat them all. Totally mesmerized by her performance, Kairu declares himself an instant fan, but she tells him to leave her alone. At District 8, we learn a bit more about the Iron Girl at the Bounty Hunter Agency. People call her Chris, but she doesn't even know her real name because all memory of her past life is gone. So now she's saving up all the reward money until she has enough to buy the memory retrieval machine we see sitting on a shelf. Her friend Kento tells her she should focus on the future instead, now that their district has a secret colony that can offer a peaceful life. Barely listening to that boring talk, Chris asks the agent for the next job. Kento says hi to their sweet friend Miria on his way home, and then he meets the other bounty hunters at the colony. They are all complaining about how little they make for risking their lives all the time. After paying for food, there's nothing left for some fun. It's been more than a year since their last visit to a brothel, and just like Kairu, they are starting to get impatient. Meanwhile, there are a couple of long faces at Lord Sparty's headquarters too. They have just heard about Iron Girl's last stunt. As no one from that group made it back to pay for their incompetence, the messenger gets punished in their place. Two of the top gangsters, Jackal and Poison, start to share what they know about this annoying Supergirl and planning what to do about it. Back at the colony, guess who found a way in at no one's invitation? Kairu, of course. And now he's trying to scam these poor guys that are already short for cash. He's got a huge vessel filled with clear liquid and a snake. He says that's a powerful love potion that drives women crazy. The men get very excited at the possibilities, and a girl named Nana has the bad luck to walk in at that exact moment. They immediately throw their money at Kairu. A few minutes later, Chris and Miria also walk in. One of the guys starts having ideas. He challenges Chris to a drinking contest. Miria is worried to hear that and tells her not to do it, but Chris tells her to shut up and go to her room. With her eyes on the prize money, the Iron Girl takes her seat across from her pathetic opponent. Many shots later, they are both hammered, and Kairu keeps pouring. It should be obvious by now that he had totally made up the whole love potion thing. But the other guy is in no condition to confront anyone with logic. Chris is not too far from that herself, and Kairu starts to fear where this may be going. She slaps him and tells him she has never lost a drinking duel. There's a first time for everything, you see. At night, Miria is talking to Chris outside the colony dorms. She asks Chris how she lost her memory. Now, that's a particularly stupid question, since Miria is the one who found Chris unconscious at a beach a while ago. Whatever happened before that, there's obviously no way for her to know, but there is actually something about all of it that Kento has been keeping from Chris. Miria makes him show her a photograph from 5 years ago. It was taken the day the Defense Corps got destroyed, and Chris insisted on saving their friend Koto, despite the minimal chances of success. She can't remember any of it, but she can tell Kento's not really telling the whole story. So she keeps pushing him with more questions. Finally, he says Koto was not just a friend of hers, he was her lover. She's absolutely shocked at the revelation and goes back inside. As soon as she leaves, Miria starts to accuse Kento of being secretly in love with Chris, which means he must be happy that she has literally forgotten about her ex. He says he's helping her, but the truth is, he doesn't really want those memories to come back to her. Kento doesn't explain his action because this is Miria, remember? On the next day, Kento tells Chris he's going after the leader of a gang in the 13th district. Chris says she'll pray for him and she hopes his mission goes well. But that's not what happens at all. In fact, the whole mission is nothing but a trap for Kento. When he gets there, this guy he's supposed to hunt has already been taken care of. Lord Sparty's right-hand man is there waiting for Kento. He says he has a message for the Iron Girl. Lord Sparty has just put a price on her head. Then he tries to kill Kento right there and then. Luckily, Kento has a few tricks of his own, and he manages to disarm his adversary with a mini taser. He then takes his life and collects even more cash than he expected for this bounty. As she hears about all that, Chris is eager to take a high-profile target. The agent gives her a wanted sign for Poison, one of those top-notch Sparty ladies. With this one, she'll have enough for the device. She asks the agent not to sell it until she comes back with the cash. He says there's nothing to worry about. She's the only person interested in that piece of garbage. Kento is worried about Chris and reminds her that she's the target now. Just as usual, she tells him to just shut up.
心配しないで。
At the colony laboratory, Chris comes in to talk to the scientist about her earlier questions. Apparently, not even Chris understands much about her armored suit. As she doesn't remember getting it, all she can say is that it has always been there and she instinctively knows how to use it. The scientist just drops some technology mumbo-jumbo and admits he hasn't made much progress with that. He tells her to tap the crystal on the back of her hand and a very cool sword appears in a beam of light. His jaw drops to see that and he's completely absorbed by the breakthrough. But Chris wants to know more about the neck choker that can't be removed. He has no idea about what it is or where it came from. At night, Kento is telling Chris about Poison. Considered to be Lord Sparty's right arm, she has made a name for herself as a superior fighter. Kento offers his help so that they can both take her, but Chris is more interested in asking about the past and what she was like before. He says she was a good friend, but he knows there's more. Heavily pressured, he starts to admit his lifelong crush on her. He can barely believe his luck, but soon we're back to Iron Girl mode again. This was all an act to avoid his company tomorrow. She wants Poison all for herself. In the afternoon, there's a mysterious man standing on the roof with his face covered. He's observing Chris as she leaves, but she doesn't see him. At District 9, there's a show going on and Poison is one of the girls on stage. Kiru's there too. He pays a handful of cash for a private dance with her. He also seems to ignore that he doesn't have to dance himself, but that doesn't even matter as she chokes him from behind right away and says, "You can come out now." Chris accepts the invitation. Now we know how on earth Kiru had any cash at all. He gets tossed to the side while the two women get started. Poison does put up a good fight. She says Iron Girl's not that special after all. That reminds Chris of her new toy. She pulls out her high-tech sword and things start to look very bad for Poison, more specifically for her right eye. And that's when Kiru comes running and says an alert has been sent. In fact, there's a bunch of awful stuff happening at the colony right now. Jackal and the mysterious man on the roof are getting information about the Iron Girl suit from that scientist. He tells them everything right away. As they keep asking, he swears he doesn't know anything. Jackal wants to take him with them anyway, but Mystery Man decides otherwise. When Chris and Kiru arrive, the colony is a total mess. There are several casualties and everyone who survived is very hurt. It's now evident that the whole Poison thing was just bait to get Iron Girl away from the colony for a few hours. Miria was attacked too, and while she may be fine now, the traumatizing experience has wiped her memories. Her family picture is all torn up on the floor and she doesn't recognize anyone around her, not even Chris. Then that guy from the drinking challenge comes to talk to Chris. He takes her to the back room where the other bounty hunters are. They all start to hero shame her, saying that all of this suffering is entirely her fault, including what happened to Miria. She only cares about the money and puts everyone in danger to get what she wants. The location of the colony was never leaked before. Always loyal to his dame, Kairu stands up against them and defends the Iron Girl. He says they are the ones who probably let their guard down, as they are always chasing a tail anyway. Chris stops the guy from hitting Kairu and says they are all free to hit her instead. They don't need to be asked twice, totally ignoring the gender factor and the fact that she's obscenely outnumbered and not fighting back. Kento finally shows up to stop them, but they tell him no one wants her around anymore. One of them throws 500 in cash at her, and although she's too hurt to move, she still makes a huge effort to pick up the money. That makes them despise her even more, and they tell her to go away. She's no longer welcome at the colony. To make things much worse, the Sparty men don't seem to have spared the bounty hunter agency and its little side hop. The device is gone, the place is trashed, and the agent is also mad at her. He says she was supposed to be their savior, but all she's done was to provoke the hatred of people like Sparty. He tells her to never come back to the agency again. If she wants that device so badly, she needs to go see Sparty. She listens to all that in silence, and then she drops all the cash on the table before leaving. Kyra is waiting for her outside the agency. He knows where she's going, and he's coming with, whether she likes it or not. On their way to Sparty's, Chris meets a mysterious woman she hasn't met before.
野獣の目
She seems to know Chris, or at least about her. She says they share a fighting life and the fate of never belonging anywhere. Walking away, she says they'll meet again, and hopefully not as enemies. Believe it or not, there is an actual checkpoint to enter the criminal conglomerate run by Lord Sparty. Jackal has bouncer duty today and totally sucks at it. Kairu has no problem getting through with a fake ID and accompanied by what is evidently a superhero in a lame disguise. And then a few moments later, who comes to the gate for a chat? It's Nana, who turns out to be Jackal's girlfriend and a double agent all along. While Jackal's whining about not being promoted instead of properly guarding the premises, Nana sees the intruders on the security camera. She immediately recognizes the Iron Girl and tells Jackal to follow them. If he can get such a precious head to Lord Sparty, that promotion will surely come faster. By now, Kairu and Chris are inside the building. They are soon surrounded by Sparty's men, and Chris is totally shocked to see Nana. She kicks Kairu out of the fight zone so she can better get the job done. And she doesn't spare anyone but Nana, who has run off quickly. Poison shows up right after, but she doesn't last much either. Then a voice is heard from above them. It's Mad Spam, saying he has been waiting for the famous Iron Girl. He knew she would come after the memory restoring device. Kairu frantically repeats that this is a trap, as if she weren't fully aware by now. But what she doesn't know is that her skills are about to be tested by that mysterious man. He is the first person who seems to be a match for her fighting skills. Kento arrives to help her out, but gets tackled by Nana before he can get to them. Eventually, the light sword opens up two great revelations about Mystery Man. First of all, he's not a man, or at least not 100%. He has a human face and a robot body, and that human face is not a new one. It's Koto, her old boyfriend. While he's trying to end her, she has a flashback of how everything ended for Koto. Extremely angry at this turn of events, she hits a button in the middle of the robot with the super sword. That seems to disable Koto's cyborg half and seems to recognize her for the first time. He tells her to head west because the secret to her past is in Mount Fuji. These are Koto's very last words. Holding up the device he has managed to retrieve from the whole mess, Kairu points out that there's no need to worry about her past anymore. He also points out how brave she was and pretty much single-handedly saved the day. But the thing is, now Chris has a debt to be paid, and it is Mira who gets to use the device. She has all her memories back and immediately recognizes Kento. Giving her that family photo, he says it was glued back together by Chris. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 2015 movie Iron Girl Ultimate Weapon by Shibuya Productions, starring Asami and Kurara Asuka. This story is part 2 in the Iron Girl trilogy. So what do you think will happen next? And what is the secret of Iron Girl? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.